Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to be here, and thank you all for sticking around. I hope you're enjoying sandals with a sweater weather. It's not going to be around for long, so let's enjoy it while it lasts. And thank you so much for that introduction. It's really an honor to be on this stage here at the Forest Theater. I've been to many events here, but I've never graced the stage with my presence, so thank you so much for having me. And tonight I'm going to share a little bit about my story and talk mainly about my mother, Nora. Her name is Nora, and she's my business partner, and for some time now I've been referring to her as an artist because my mother is not educated in the way we understand education, but she is a master. She does have expertise, and her expertise is, one of them, is in making pupusas. And pupusas are a traditional Salvadoran food. They are made of a corn flour mixed with water, and they're stuffed with a number of fillings that we offer, like pork and cheese, bean and cheese. We do a really lovely zucchini and cheese, or just cheese if you're one of those people who just really love cheese. We've got it. And we pair it with a pickled cabbage and carrots and salsa that's either really spicy or not spicy at all. We can do a mix of the both, too. We do that sometimes. But she is really the heart of our business, and it's really her recipe. And I use the word recipe loosely because there's not measurements exactly. It's more of a, taste this, see if it needs a little bit more of this. And I'm not there yet. Something that's funny about our business and me working with my mom is that when we first started, while I was at Carolina, I didn't know how to make pupusas. I just ate them a lot, and I was like, that's why I'm an expert, and I believe this is a great product. And so, I was just like, this is it. Like, we don't have to test this out. We did one event where we offered free pupusas, and the line was out the door, and I was like, we're never doing that again. So my mom's food is the way in which we fund our scholarships for undocumented students. And this is an initiative that came about while I was at Carolina and really learning about the privileges I had, and hearing a different narrative about myself than I was used to, and really exploring my identity, not just as a Latina, as a Tar Heel, but as someone who is Salvadoran, and what that means living in the United States, having grown up in the United States, where I'm the only one in my immediate family that was born here. My mom and dad were born and raised in El Salvador. All three of my older sisters were also born and partially raised in El Salvador. And in El Salvador, we grew a lot of coffee and corn. Those were our crops. And if we still lived in El Salvador, that's probably what we'd be doing. And I think a lot about if I lived there and if we'd grown up there and how that's different from what I'm doing now and what my life has been like in the United States. And I try to think about that and remember and recognize that my mom and I are not that far apart. We're just one generation, but our lives are so different. She's grown up as a homemaker where education was not an option for her, but she has fed our family and been responsible for creating the home which allowed us to thrive. So pupusas are really special to me for that reason. We used to only have them on special occasions, but now I have them all the time, and I feel like all the time is a special occasion now. And it certainly is when we're on the truck and we're serving our food to people who maybe have never tried it before. It's really wonderful to see them be willing to try something different. And to see my mom's face when they're like, oh my gosh, it's so good. When I first told her about the food truck, she told me that she was not gonna help me, that she did not wanna make pupusas all day, but she is really a sucker for the feedback we get, and I think it just comes naturally to her to feed people. I think that one reason I thought selling pupusas would be a good idea to fund the scholarships is because when I would bring friends home from UNC to my family's home in Durham, where I grew up, I would tell them, be prepared to be fed by my mom. Like, she's going to feed you, so come hungry, and you can't say no to her. She will be offended. So come hungry, be prepared to eat pupusas, and it was really a special moment to share a part of my identity with people. A part of my identity that's, you know, on the surface, you know, I maybe come off as Latina, but specifically as Salvadoran, that's a little bit harder to share. But through pupusas, we do that all the time, and we also talk about the immigrant experience, and especially undocumented students and what they're facing. And through pupusas, we're able to make a small change in the world. I feel like I never thought that food could be a form of activism or be a form to create change. But with my mother's expertise and her artistry, and my wild and crazy ideas, we've been able to combine the two to make something pretty cool happen. And so my mom, she is really impressed with how far we've come, and she understands why we do it. Because I feel like I've watched my parents do something similar to what I'm doing now, thinking about where I've come and the opportunities I've had, and who doesn't have that opportunity. Because for my parents, I've watched them as immigrants come to this country and work, and thankfully be able to thrive and secure somewhere safe to live, secure opportunities for me to go to school, to go to Carolina, to be an entrepreneur, to be a small business owner. And it's really a beautiful thing, because I watched them take in people who had just got here, who didn't speak English, who didn't have anyone, who didn't have a job yet. And I think that I've watched that theme, and I've watched my mom feed whoever needed to be fed. Because when you come into our home, no one goes hungry, and everyone is treated like family. And we're able to do that on the truck too. It's a really special feeling to not have to be at home, to be out on this truck and take home with us and share that with people on the road, on the move, on our food truck. So my mom is an artist, and I tell her this, and she's like, no, I'm not an artist. I tell her she has a master's in pupusa making, and she's like, that's a funny joke. Don't tell that to people. But I honor her, and she's very shy. She's kind of like, yeah. But I do honor her in what I'm doing now, I feel, with the food truck. Because like I said, I didn't know how to make pupusas when I first started. And I was kind of ashamed of that. I didn't really tell people that, but now it's a great place to start, because now I can say that I do know how to make pupusas. So it's taken me some time. I've been doing this full time for a year, but really working with my mom for a couple of years. And it's a great privilege, because unless it was my job, like it is now, I don't think I would be intentionally learning her traditions, her recipes, or lack thereof, like I am now. Because I spend so much time with her. I watch what she does. Now I understand what it took to really learn what she knows how to do. She has decades of experience in making pupusas, and I just have a few years, so there's no way I can be up to par with her. There's no way, I can't compete. But I can begin to learn her traditions, to keep them alive and to pass them on through the generations too. And so my mom and dad, they're still very traditional. There's always tortillas in the house. Like, just tortillas is something we had all the time. And there's always beans in the house. There's always coffee. There's always something to eat. And my mom, the most distinct thing about her cooking, other than how delicious it is how it sounds when she's making it. And so when she's making tortillas, and this is something that she does as a way to relieve stress, because she says, I enjoy it, I'm good at it, I don't gotta worry about it, people are gonna love it. So she makes tortillas when she's stressed out. And I've woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning to this sound. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm trying to sleep. And I go out of my room and I take a peek, and she's in the kitchen making tortillas at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? She's like, I couldn't sleep, so I'm here making tortillas for us to eat tomorrow, for us to eat this week. And I was like, wow, it's so cool to have that experience. And now I get to hear a similar sound when she's making pupusas. It has to be a little heavier because the pupusa has a filling. The tortilla doesn't have a filling. But the pupusa has a filling, so it's a little heavier, and it goes. And so when I hear that sound, I'm like, ooh, that's not a tortilla, that's a pupusa. That one has some delicious stuff inside. And so I've had this honor of working with my mom, of honoring her traditions, her recipes, and it's been something that she couldn't just write out, give to me. She couldn't hand me a piece of paper with the measurements, with the instructions, and say, if you follow these, you will make pupusas and you will be successful. It's not like that, and I think that what I've learned from working with her is that our traditions and the culture, it's hard to keep it alive because it takes work. It takes work to put in the hours to try and measure what she puts in. She did not cooperate with me when I tried to make a recipe. I would tell her, tell me before you're about to throw something in, like what was that? How much was it? 2 tomatoes, 3 tomatoes? And no cooperation. And I don't know if she was doing it intentionally or not, but she was teaching me that good things take hard work. And she was teaching me that keeping the tradition alive takes hard work. It takes time. It takes a lot of effort. And it's something that is not easily passed on. But it is definitely something worth keeping alive. So it's such an honor for me to be able to say now that I know how to make pupusas. On the truck I make pupusas. I'm able to serve people food like my mom served people food. And to keep that alive about us as well. And so I've had this great honor, and thankfully my culture has provided me something, has provided me a tool to create some change and be able to give back. And so that is a challenge that I think we all have the capability of stepping to. Okay, so this challenge of what do we have, what can we do? We all have something. It may be something that we never considered to be. Like that's something that we could use. To me, pupusas were just something we ate on a special occasion. I didn't think that it could be a business, that business could fund scholarships, that someone could go to school like I went to school because of pupusas. But it's happening, and it's a really beautiful thing. And so I hope that you all are able to experience not only our pupusas, because our pupusas are the best, but that you experience foods and cultures and traditions that are different from your own, because they carry so much in them. They carry the generations before us. They carry their recipes, their love, their resilience. And we're tasting something that kept people alive, that kept people going, and that got us to where we are now. And so that's something that's really special for me. Pupusas, corn, the corn flour that pupusas are made of. I'm honored that instead of being in El Salvador, where we might be harvesting the corn, I'm now using the corn here. It's made its way here to be made into a pupusa through the corn flour and to be shared with people here. And so it's traveled far. It's come from all the way from El Salvador through California, made its way to Durham, made its way to UNC, made its way to Chapel Hill, Carborough, for everyone to experience. So I share that story with you to honor my mother, to honor her traditions, to honor this skill that I now have, that I've worked towards and I've not mastered, not perfected, but that I will keep working towards for years and be able to pass on for generations, and to challenge you to do something with what you have, because we have so much and we just gotta look a little closer to find it. Thank you.